Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is a voiceover type video. I'm going to try this for today. I might not like it, I might like it, I don't know. But here today we have a Honda Harmony 2, and there's 3 bolts on top for the recoil and 2 bolts for the carburetor. And it's some editing here. I'm going to use a 10mm socket, I believe, is what it was. Yeah, 10mm socket. On my impact, you can use hand tools, whatever. Take those 2 out. Take the 3 nuts off the top. You don't have to do that, but it makes it easier to see everything. And for video purposes, it was easier to do. Take the recoil off the top, and then the engine cover. Set it off to the side since the tank is mounted to it, or part of it. I don't remember if it's molded into the plastic or not. Yeah, I think it is. Anyways, set it off to the side so you can see down in there. Doing all my weird hand motions and stuff. Yeah, this is a Honda Harmony 2 HRS216, if I'm reading that right. Yeah. This is the Honda overhead cam engine. I don't remember if this is a GCV 160 or 140 or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but this carburetor and the kit and everything that it came with, it is from HIPAA. And this one, like, I am like sponsored by them. They send me a lot of stuff, but all of it is completely unbiased. I bought this kit myself, and because I trust their parts beyond just getting them for free, because they work. So on here we have there was a homemade gasket on here. You'll want to make sure you turn off the gas. There is a gasket, a spacer, another weird little spacer block in the metal plate that is the heat shield, and then there's some gaskets, carburetor gasket, and then gasket again for the airbox. So this kit came with fuel line with 2 clamps on it already, a bunch of gaskets, and then here's the carburetor. So the bowls are different on these, but it's the proper carburetor. The original carburetor that was on this, I believe, wasn't the original, because when I took it apart, the throttle not the throttle, the choke was different. Like, there was a spot for a choke lever, and I think it was the wrong carburetor, because the hole that the choke linkage is supposed to go into was just a shaft. So I think it was the wrong carburetor. But here I'm gonna go through all the stuff, and choke springs back nice, and the throttle seemed to work pretty well. It matches up mostly, but with the exception of the proper thing. And you might be saying to yourself, well, James, like, you're talking about the original carburetor having a shaft on it and whatever, but this one doesn't have that. Well, the one that's on it right now is the one that was on it, like, when I took it apart and saw that the shaft was on it. So I snapped that shaft off of there, drilled a hole in there, and made that the proper thing. But then I could get it started, but the choke still wasn't working proper, and it surged and everything, even after cleaning the carburetor. So it's jetted wrong and everything else. So figured I'd just buy a different carburetor and get it all set up. So you're going to want to make sure that the spring goes into a little hole in the main governor throttle shaft, or throttle link goes into the larger hole on carburetor. Here are the gaskets. I only used, I think, 1 or 2 of these because they were different or didn't look like they matched up anywhere. So I just used what I wanted to use. But I think I used the one for the block to the spacer and then a different one for that other stuff. Here I messed around for a while for some reason. I don't know why I was trying to match it up with the voiceover. I should have just did it how I normally would and then just voice over it regularly. But here I show the gasket being put onto the adapter plate, and it skips to me jumping around and replacing the fuel line because it was broke short when I took it apart. Here I'm showing how all the gaskets go together, how they're sandwiched in there. I just left the good homemade gasket on the airbox. And I sat those down to the side so I get the carburetor put up there. Pretty sure that gasket blows away. It starts to move, I think it blows away entirely. But I had my fan on because it was like 94 degrees inside that day. So, yeah, this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've just now got around to doing this. So, yeah. So you're going to want the gasket on the back side of airbox, and then you're going to want to put the bolts through, stay through that metal plate there, put another gasket on, and once you get the carburetor hooked up to, I have it backwards here, I'll see that in a minute, eventually, right here. So, choke into that hole. I think it comes out when I move this. Yeah, throttle into the large hole, and then spring into the smaller hole. It was easier to use some pliers for this because of it being so small, and they're like I have to hold everything together and everything. It was a bit of a pain to do. On these Hondas, everybody complains about how you have to sandwich everything in there, but it was a bit of a struggle to get that spring onto there. Okay, stick those bolts through there, and it'll hold everything in place. Now, I do forget at first to put that breather on there, but I think later in the video I put that on there. Now that everything's just loosely held on there, you're going to want the metal plate, the large gasket that is the same size as the metal plate, the block, and then the gasket that goes to the engine. You want to set that on there, and then put one bolt through and move everything around and get the other one stuck in there. Get them a couple threads in there, and then use your impact or hand tools to snug them down. And you want this stuff relatively tight because you don't want it pulling out of the engine and messing something up. So make sure that you get everything together. and secure. I don't quite remember what this pause was from, but I'll get back to it in a minute. Oh, I believe I was looking at what way the little openings go. The openings other than the 2 bolt holes. I don't believe it matters on here exactly, because there's not an opening clear through to the carburetor. I don't know if there was another model that needed those openings or what, but this one, it seemed to not matter either way. You just have to finagle everything around and get at least 1 bolt in, and then move it around and get the other one in. But it was really difficult to do. Here I was just twisting it because everything was super tight together. It wasn't going in with the threads. We're almost there. Stick the other gasket in there and get the bolts started. Get everything snug down, and then we'll be done. Oh, I then had to hook up the fuel line because I forgot to do that at first. And then I'll have to do the breather at some point because at the time I was listening to music and not really thinking much of the stuff in the background because I was working around the camera and everything, and I don't know. I get distracted and I just get kind of into my own little world, and yeah. I got it fixed though, so yeah. Like I said, this video wasn't a sponsored video. Um, like I said, I'm completely unbiased with all this stuff. I don't have many people to watch my videos anyways, so not that they get much publicity from me anyways, but I like their stuff. Even if they weren't sending me free stuff, I'd still buy it because it's great quality stuff. The only thing I've had issues with is the one carburetor for a chainsaw before, but I believe it said it worked for that one, but it didn't fit properly, like with the choke lever or something. That was probably on my end. I never looked into it past that because they ended up telling me that it was a different one, but I wasn't sure. And then there was um, a fuel filter that snapped and I hurt my fingers, and just don't ask about it because I was trying to push the fuel line onto the barbed fitting, and the barbed fitting was one of those Kohler style, like fuel pump style for the Kohlers. Um, so like a large cylinder with like some really thin plastic pieces on it, and it snapped off like right at the body of the filter, and I had to throw it away. So we're almost done here. Got everything snugged down. I got the cover back on. Here was snugging down the bolts, or the nuts on the studs. This filter was already replaced before I replaced the filter and then had to redo the carburetor. And just like that, we're done. So everybody have a great day. Like, comment, subscribe.